Um, I am trying to come on camera. Yes, it works.
All right, over
Good
to you,
morning, all.
Patrick.
Thank you very much, Guy. I just wanted to take this opportunity to put into context, rather than anything else, the role of Net Zero Go. Obviously, the Net Zero challenge is huge. The cost of reaching net zero is significant. And we can't afford to pay for all of that on the public purse. And so the role of local authorities is not just going to be around delivering grant funded programs like LAD, HUG, Sustainable Warmth, but about designing projects, developing commercially investable projects at a scale that investors want to come and partner with local authorities to deliver these projects, and that we can recognise and realise the wider benefits, both in terms of the social benefits, but also monetising some of those social benefits. Now, given that net zero remains a non-statutory obligation on local authorities, the current situation is based on political will. The climate emergency motions that many of your cabinets have passed, the desire to see this happen, but it is also dependent on discretionary funding. So the money that is left after statutory duties have been completed. And so a lot of time and a lot of effort is spent delivering smaller one-off projects with the money that you know you have. And what we're looking to do from a national perspective is to work with local government through the Net Zero Forum, through programs like the 3CI project that we were running with Core Cities and Connected Places Catapult and London councils, to bring together projects and to bring together ambition and to find a way of scaling it up, of creating portfolios and aggregation that allows investors to come forward and work effectively, cost effectively with local government. And the critical part of this, and we saw this with the ERDF low carbon funding from 2014 to 2020, is developing capability and capacity in local government so that projects can be brought forward over a period of time and developed in a way that makes sense to the commercial world rather than just to your chief finance officer and the Public Works Loan Board. And this is a change. This is a skill change. And so first and foremost, we set up the local net zero hubs, which began in 2018, still there, cover all of the English local authorities, providing 50 to 60 bodies on the ground with the skills to help local authorities take projects forward. And then on top of that, we are working with UKRI, who funded the development of Net Zero Go, and with Energy Systems Catapult, to develop this platform that not holds all the answers, but is a one-stop shop that brings all of the answers together for your chief exec when they want to look at it, or your chief finance officer, for your housing managers, for your transport managers. It doesn't do all of that yet. It's still a work in progress. I think it will always be a work in progress because this is a rapidly moving world, and the scale of it and the breadth of it is absolutely enormous. But I think that what we are trying to do is create a community for local government that allows local government to share best practice, to share legal documents, to share mistakes in a way that accelerates everybody's understanding and opportunity to deliver programs. And the work that is going to be focused on today around the PSDS, the Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme, is a really prime example of how sharing that information, working with policy colleagues in BEIS, with the delivery partner Salix, to really create something that enables really good bids, really strong bids to come forward, is a really critical part of delivery, when very often our funding is short term. I know we have this conversation all the time about long-term funding would allow you to bring forward projects, but the political realities don't always allow us to do that. So having projects on the shelf, having schemes ready to go, is a really good way of building that opportunity to optimize the value of BEIS funding. Yes, Chris, OnGen has some of this capability, and we have indeed funded projects through the hubs, Midlands Hub and the Northeast Hub, to develop and work with OnGen to allow us to make that available to local authorities. And that's exactly the sort of example of what the hubs are doing. But once we've tested it, once we've built it up, then obviously one of the things we want to do is make sure that people can find it in the single place, and that's the role of Net Zero Go. So it's to have the narrative, to have the journey, and then to link people at the right point in that journey to things like OnGen, or to the work that other people, Ashton Trust or Carbon Trust or local partnerships, hundreds of organizations out there that are working in this space, developing open source opportunities. But to search for it all, to find the relevant bit, is really difficult. So Net Zero Go is the house for that, and to bring it together and to create a community that supports all of you in your very difficult jobs at local authority level to really make a difference. There aren't at the moment. It is England only. Joanna, we are in talks with the devolved administrations around how best to take it forward, but you will be aware that a lot of the work being done in this space is devolved, and in some cases Wales is a good example where they have a local authority support system funded directly by the Welsh Assembly, and so it's making sure that we don't duplicate or overstep, and offer real examples. But to give you an example of a new development that I haven't even told Gordon and Guy about yet, we had the first Islands Forum up in Orkney last week, and it was agreed that we would look to develop a Net Zero Go Islands space within the platform that would allow all of the islands in the UK, Scottish, Welsh, English, Northern Irish, to come together and have a space where they can share best practice on how to decarbonise islands. And that's the sort of community that we're looking to build across the whole of the UK, to share best practice and knowledge. The hubs only works for is only in the English part at the moment, but the Net Zero Go is there to bring all of UK together. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Patrick. Can I just? I'm going to totally abuse my chair's prerogative. Sounds fantastic about the islands build out. Look forward to exploring that. Always nice to hear news about live in events like this. Just a general point. Obviously, we've got a new central government in place, which has had an interesting first couple of weeks. Any early signs on the kind of importance of local government in net zero? Any kind of early directional that the people on this call could I'm sure would be interested in?
So I think the biggest biggest announcement obviously was the net zero review that is going to be chaired by Chris Gidmore. It's an independent review into how we reach our 2050 targets most effectively and most efficiently. The focus is not on changing the targets. It is about ensuring that we are doing it in the most business friendly way going forward. The program has the review has 6 main pillars in good government speak, one of which is net zero communities in the broadest sense. So he has one of 6 elements of the review will focus entirely on local delivery, so place-based, community-focused, local government-focused net zero. So the fact that he has put that focus in, I think, is a real opportunity and a real positive for the sector.
I'm just going to take one more question, and then if you're able to, Patrick, I know you're limited for time, if you're able to pick up any questions in the chat elsewhere, but I'll just take the question from Saeed, which is what are the priorities of the new local net zero forum set by BEIS as an output of the net zero strategy last November?
Thanks. So the second meeting is actually this afternoon, so it's a very live topic. So there are 4 key priorities that the local net zero forum has. They're quite big, chunky issues, so there are subsets to all of them. But the first is looking at the roles and responsibilities of local and national government on net zero. So this is a recommendation from the CCC that we make those roles and responsibilities clearer, and the forum is the place that we're looking to do that. The second is data and reporting. So with it being non-statutory, reporting is down to individual local authorities. It's being done differently in lots of places. A lot of local government have said we want some sort of standard way so that we can measure against each other. Those of you who have read the Levelling Up white paper and are aware of OFLOG, the Office for Local Government, they're also looking at metrics, and the forum will be developing the net zero metrics for OFLOG. But on the flip side of data and reporting is obviously all of the work that you're doing and Energy Systems Catapult leading on around local area energy planning, and what data is needed and what data is available and how do we make better data available, so that we're not just using proxies of national data for everything that makes places look and feel the same, even though we know they're not, because the data is just not granular enough. So there's that side of the data and reporting as well. The third one will be finance and funding. So that's again 2 sides to that. One is what do we need to do? So we made a commitment in the net zero strategy to look at whether there was an opportunity to simplify net zero funding. I think the NAO identified 22 different funding streams for local government on net zero. So there is a question there that the forum will answer. But the other side is obviously this issue around how do we attract commercial investment. So programs like the 3CI project with Connected Places Catapult is providing evidence into the forum around skills and opportunities for commercial investment. And then the final one that kind of spins out of all of those is capability and capacity. So what skills do local government need? What skills do local government need? How should those skills be developed, identified, supported? Our view is that having a net zero director is lovely, but actually you need to be able to embed these skills across all of the directors of the services within your existing structures. So, you know, your housing director and your transport director are equally responsible for getting to net zero as any net zero champion within the department. So I think there's some really interesting questions there. The forum itself is made up of 15 representatives of representative bodies, so directors of place representing the LGA, ADEPT, APSI, M10, etc. We are looking to get a website page and membership, but we won't be putting minutes and papers up there because it is a Chatham House rules type organisation that provides advice that we then put up to ministers. So it's not a decision-making forum in any way, because obviously ministers still take decisions from our side and chief execs from the local government side, and none of those people are in the room.
Okay. Patrick, thank you hugely for being press ganged into taking questions. So appreciate that. I'm sure there'll be others on the line. So drop them in the chat, and I'll see Patrick. But we should get into the content, as it were. And I really appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you very much. Right. So now we're going to talk about